in-depth race recaps.
He's shown speed, he's shown dominance at other racetracks.
Pit stops and strategy.
Hell yeah, boys. Let's go. Race strategy, man.
Fantasy racing insights.
Talking about being a team in the summer. We did it. Good job, boys.
Your weekly home for everything Ryan Blaney and Team 12.
Good job, Timmy. Here's to many more, fellas. Thank you.
This is the Team Blaney podcast.
Let's go race for a championship.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 195 of the Team Blaney podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. This week, we are here to break down Ryan Blaney's run in the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma Raceway. Steve, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. One of the many that we've done recently, recapping road course, street course, left and right and left turn event. And I know we're headed to an oval next week, but I think I thoroughly enjoyed another weekend of racing, despite the fact that we saw some more SVG dominance, some more Connor Zilich, I guess, dominance as well.
Yeah.
And to me, a pretty good pair of races, though some folks have had some differing opinions on that. But I don't know. Sonoma is just one of those classic NASCAR road course races that we grew up watching, and I'm always happy when they go out there. And the other thing is Ryan Blaney is really one heck of a road course racer that just does not have the finishes to show it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost getting a little bit frustrating at this point.
Yeah. There's points and times, and I'll try to point them out during the report here, that faster than the leader, especially after about 10 to 15 laps into a run, and strategy-wise able to run the same strategy as the lead couple cars, which is usually unusual. Usually it's a flipping it and then hoping you can work your way back. And if it doesn't, when things don't happen, I really think that a long green flag run to the end would have been very, very interesting, and probably would have gotten more likes out of the Jeff Buck poll. I think it's a little bit of fatigue, though. I think it's like back-to-back weeks of a road course, so people are voting on it and going, another week of it, But the truth is the action itself was pretty good and pretty exciting. And sure, SVG kind of dominated in a way, but we had a late race restart, so we had a chance for some things to happen, and they did happen. Some good, some bad. But, overall, I think racing there is really, really good. And, people are going to pick apart the SVG thing because he's won a couple races this year on road courses and all that. But, smart people are talking about Jeff Gordon winning, Tony Stewart winning 7 or 8 of them, and they only went there 12. What would happen if they were racing this day and age right now? Would they be winning a lot too? Yes, it probably would be, and have more wins on road courses than they did in their career. There'll be a learning curve, and people will catch up to him. He did not win Watkins Glen last year. He got raced pretty hard for the win there. So this has just been a pretty good stretch for them. They've got the speed and the driver. So kudos to them. But overall, Ryan's day was really good until it wasn't.
Yeah, we kind of talked a lot about the Zilich and SVG battle, even on this show last week, and how that was going to be a learning experience for Connor going into the next week. And, you could tell he did. He wrote it down in his notebook. He thought about it all week, probably studied a little bit, and was able to beat the guy that people thought was unbeatable. And so that was a really exciting race, start to finish, and mainly just because of those two guys trading the lead back and forth. And what we are seeing here in that race, Chicago, and then a little bit in that late restart here, is that Shane is starting to get a little bit more comfortable with getting physical. But it's still funny with him, even in that Xfinity race, there's a couple times where he did move Connor out of the way, and then in the moment felt bad about it, that's not how I want to win this, and let him gather it back up again and then keep going. So I don't know if in on the Cup side, if that's something we're at Watkins Glen, last year with Buescher, was able to almost force a mistake on him and then win the race. Is that a flaw for him? if and when it comes to this. And we might not see it on an oval anytime soon, but we do have Watkins Glen and we do have the Roval coming up. So to where like maybe people know that, he's still not comfortable with really just moving somebody out of the way and not feeling bad about it. So we'll see. But we're talking about the 12 having a ton of speed yet again. We talked about it on this show that something from Mexico City, something at Chicago was showing that whether it's the Penske program as a whole, whether it's Ryan Blaney as a driver, they've just found something. And we thought, when we talked about it last week, that let's see if it can, once you get to 3, it's a trend. Mm-hmm. And very clearly from the first 2 stages of this race on Sunday, it was a trend, but things were looking pretty decent in practice and qualifying too.
Well, yeah, practice was good because they were in the second group, which they won't be next week.
Yeah.
And early on, the single lap is like P7. He ends up running about 15 laps and a 5-lap average of 6. So looks pretty good. You don't know if they slip up here or there in practice a little bit, so it's kind of hard to tell once in a while. The 16 was actually P1 in that 5-lap average, because I think Shane might have spun it out at one point and lost a little bit on a lap. So that qualifying was really, really interesting because Group 1 went and the 24 car put up a really good time late in the session. So now, the thought process for everybody was in their session, same thing, go out late or go out early and then pull the car down and then go out late the second time. A lot of cars that went out the second time improved in that first session. So Ryan goes out the first time and ends up P7 overall, P6 in the group. The 24 car was the only car that worked its way in front of him. And it looked really, really good because they were only like 0.2 away from being like second or third. And you knew they were going to go back out with enough time to run maybe 1, maybe 2 laps. So they did go back out. On Ryan's first lap back out, TV doesn't show this very well, the 22 car dusts the track and going up the hill 1 and 2. Totally screws Ryan's lap up, going up into the dust, get the car loose, and he has to get the tires underneath him. So he gathers it up to come around for a second lap. And the second lap, up in turn 4, Ryan spins it out. He doesn't hit anything, but he spins it out in turn 4. Now, I'm not saying he would have, but I think with the improvement everybody had their second time out and it being late in the session, everything else, like I said, he only needed like 0.2 to get himself to like third or second. And I think he could have done that. It didn't end up being that way. He ends up with P7, which is great that he put that initial lap in. The 88 does get the pole. So, this brings us to Sunday. And we get stages of 25, 55, and 110. 6 sets of tires, a fuel run of 47 to 50 laps. Pit stall 32, and I think it was the 99 behind him and the open in front of them. Nobody pitting in front of them. So that kind of helps with your pit stops. Although knowing that most of the time you're going to do a green flag stop if you're flipping the stages. Tim, again, when they get on the radio and they get on the track, he says, save all day. Now, he's an odd number starter, and it's hard to tell with these road courses what's inside and outside. So we say right side lane, left side lane instead. So he takes the right lane, which I guess would technically be the inside. At least it's the inside of turn 11 when they come around for a lap. In lap 1, he sorts out the P8 when they get, I'm going to call the backstretch. The backstretch is everything from like turn 7 going back down towards turn 11 and then coming back up for the start finish line. So 88 leads right off the bat here. At lap 2, I have camera issues. So I don't know if everybody else is like me with the in-car cameras, but blacked out, like fuzzy. There was all kind of things going on. And you asked me, what'd you do? And I said, well, I have my phone sitting there, and I usually like to do timing and scoring on my phone. But I started figuring out who in the running order was behind Ryan and put them on the phone, watched Ryan from behind, and saw what he did, and he got somebody that changed drivers. So lap 3, he passes the 20. He does that up in turn 7. At lap 5, he passes the 50. Oh, I'm sorry, he P7. At lap 5, passes the 54 to get to P6. And at lap 11 or 10, I'm sorry, lap 10, Bell passes him back. So he's back in 7th. Now he's following Bell. Lap 11 here, the 20 and the 16 are racing pretty hard in front of Ryan. This a little bit is worrisome when they get like that because they get side by side. You get up close to them, and the next thing you know, you're kind of like, in the danger zone of being the third man in, getting collected.
You do hear Timmy a lot in those situations when guys are racing ahead of him. He says, "Watch those two ahead, or watch those guys ahead," like just to let him know just the way that's going. And yeah, it makes you nervous because one little thing just takes everybody out.
I want to be that. Don't be that third guy. So, excuse me. Lap 13 here, we passed the 20. Or I'm sorry, the 20. Lap 13, the 20 passes the 16. So now we're chasing the 16. And then Ryan does pass the 16 and turn 11. So he gets back to the 6th. The camera is fixed now on HBO Max. At lap 14 here, we pass the 1 to get to 5. And we're, the lap times were only 0.2 a second off the leader, off of Shane. And Shane's running in the clear. So that's really good when you're in a little bit of a traffic and you're still running lap times almost the same as the leader, and he's in the clear. At lap 19 here, fastest car on the track that lap. So he's going faster than the leader here, 19 laps into a run. By a half a second over most of the other cars in the field, too. Guys are running like, a position or two in front or behind him, half a second faster, 19 laps into a run. Now, lap 21, we're pitting from P5. 10.500 stop, which for the first real regular pit stop we've had in a week or two, extremely good. And he comes back out 26th at this point with just that couple laps left to go in the stage. So really interesting to see how many people pit, how many people you're going to work your way by. By lap 22, more guys are pitting. Lap 23, he's up to P9 now. And 20 spins right in front of us. It doesn't cause a caution. We get to 8th at lap 25 here. The 1 car did not pit, wins the stage. Ryan's P8. The 23, the 47, and the 10 did not pit in front of Ryan. So if you think about it, 4 cars there and in front of Ryan here, and Ryan was P8. So Ryan could have been P4. If everybody pitted in the cycle, he could have actually gained a spot in the pit cycle, which is pretty impressive.
In this kind of break here, while they're under caution, I think Jonathan comes over and he tells Ryan, the 1 won the stage. We probably could have won the stage if we had stayed out, but he thought track position was more important. And we talk about the strategy a lot in these scenarios, especially on road courses. Like if they believe they have the speed to potentially win the race, they're going to flip the stages. If they don't think they have it, like last week at Chicago, they probably thought they were, a top 10, maybe top 5 car. So they did they did stay out to win a stage and get a bonus point. So you saw that here. I'm like, he's really fast. I actually think he has a chance here. I hope they do flip. And Jonathan does say maybe we'll go after it next stage. And we'll go through how that plays out. But I was cool with it, especially the fact that they're able to still get stage points, which is kind of rare when people do this on a road course.
Yeah, so they the 88 leads for the restart. The 88, the 24 is P2, the 19 is P3, Ryan is P4, and the 54 is going to be P5 for this next restart here. The guys who pitted at the stage break are from P24 back. So their tires are, 2-3 laps fresher, but they're going to be back a ways. 88 chooses the inside lane or the right lane. Ryan ends up in the left lane, row 2, behind the 24. We're restarting at lap 29 here. Now, I went back. I was actually telling you before we started this recording tonight that I went back and watched the in-car cameras of the 19, 17 later on, and actually the 9 car here too, because the 9 car is directly behind Ryan as this happens, and this is the only way I could tell exactly what happened. The spotter of the 19 pretty decent job of telling him where Ryan is as they go up the hill and around the corner. He's half, and then rear quarter. One of the last things he says is rear quarter. They get to turn 7, and the next thing you see is Ryan like spinning up there and trying to get back. And turn 4, the 19 just makes the turn regular. This was kind of interesting because what I think happened here is the 19 cleared himself. Because when you watch from the 9 car's in-car camera, the 2 cars are like this. Ryan is off of his left rear. The 19 did not give him enough track. The next thing you know, he is faded over here because he's thinking more about his turn into 4 and puts Ryan off into the dirt. And that's the only reason Ryan missed that turn. Is he got dirt on the tires and then got back on the track, and it slid the car. And luckily, it did not kill him too badly. He was turned 7. He was P7 all of a sudden. He lost like 3-4 spots on all that. Yeah. The 20 passes him down, and the 20 ends up passing him in 11. So he's back to P8 here. And, Ryan does make a statement about getting back to the 19 at some point, Could
have been a lot.
Once again, this is something we can talk about after. Yeah, we can talk about it later on. It's not really worth
right now, but
the ink that they print it with.
Could have been a lot worse. He could have actually spun, but he was able to kind of get back on track fast enough. And I will say determined now after what had just happened. Yeah, so at lap 32 here, the 9 goes off the track completely, and Ryan ends up to P6. At lap 33 here, we're only 2.417 back of the leader. Ran the fastest lap of the guys in the top 10 at that point. Lap 36 here, the 88, the 24, the 54, the 19, and the 20 are in front of Ryan. And like I said, Ryan is 2.464 back. I usually don't keep track of this stuff on road courses, but from P6, that grouping to be that close, Shane led a lot of laps, but guys really weren't that far behind him. At lap 38 here, we passed the 20 in turn 11 to get to 5th, and we're 2.308 back now. And the 19 passes the 54 in front of Ryan, so now Ryan's chasing the 54. In lap 40, passing the 54 in turn 11, get the P4. At lap 41 here, the 19 is moving pretty well because he passes the 24 here to get to P2. And so now we're chasing the 24. Still only 2.398 back at the 88. Lap 43 here, passing the 24 in 11 to get to P3. And at lap 45 here, it spreads out a little bit. We're about 1.7 back of the 19 car. And lap 47, Jonathan initially says, we're going to plan to flip the stage now because we're all the way to 3rd. We're running within a certain distance where we can pit almost the same time as them and not lose much time. So Tim asks if the car is still the same here. Just wanting a quick update on what they might need to change. Ryan says the track's getting slicker, and he says, never mind. What he really wants to say is it's still the same. The brakes are going away a little bit quicker. So at lap 53, we go ahead and pit. This one is a 10.140 for a green flag stop. That's super. Comes back on track in P9 with the 5 leading at this point. And by lap 55, the 88 takes the lead away and wins the stage. So he was, and the guy, he was on fresh tires. But Ryan finishes P9. So we got 2 stages now. P8 stage points, P9 stage points. We know that these cars are going to pit. We're going to move ourselves back up to where we were. And from this point forward, really, I've got it here. You should sort the P4. It should be the 88, the 19, and then I think the 17. The 17 pitted a lap before them guys. Got a little bit of track position by being faster for a lap than they were. But Ryan all the way to 12th here. So long green flag run to the end where they got a green flag pit cycle coming. If he stays within a certain distance and he gets quicker in the runs than everybody else like he was been doing, I think it's a ball game. I really did from that point forward. Now, how often does that happen? Yeah. Where they go long green flag runs
it doesn't. But today or yesterday could have been that day.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought, guaranteed top 10, at least a top 5, but it all banks on whether there's a bunch of late race cautions and restarts, and we really didn't see like a ton of carnage like in this race. I mean, there's people spinning out and stuff, but there's runoff to do it, so people weren't really getting too stuck. So I mean, what we talk about here, I wasn't totally expecting, even though he did have a situation early on where he got pushed off the track. So
yeah. So the leader is the 88 taking the right or the inside, and Ryan is in the left, row 2 again. He's behind the 19, and he has got the 17 inside of him. And they restart at lap 59 here, and it sorts out the P4. But at lap 60, going down into 11, Ryan dive bombs 11, has enough momentum and good braking, gets underneath him, and he is inside of the 17. He's got the nose in front of him at this point as they get to the start finish line, and it looks like we're going to be charging up the hill. And as we charge up the hill, that should do it. He should clear him. But the 17 he loses control. Okay, I don't know how else to put it. Everybody's going to say, well, he didn't hit him that hard, or he got loose, and when he got loose, he knocked Ryan off the track. Once again, I went back and listened to in-car audio for this one because I wanted to hear the spotter and, anything that was said afterward. I listened to the next minute or two afterward, too. Buescher more or less said right away, I got loose. He says that right away. So he definitely knows that he, after about a lap, them coming around, the crew chief gets on the horn and says something to the effect, well, that's just a racing deal. Shake it off. So he knows he did something wrong. You know what I mean? So everything else you hear on the other side that you heard the radio transmission and you're going to hear on radioactive or whatever. Yes, that's the frustration of the other guy who was high-sided. He was stuck there. A lot of communication between him and Tim to get him unstuck. And he loses a lap doing this. But what was kind of interesting about that is they did a good job of yanking the car out of there and not damaging the car because it was actually pretty good. For when we ended up doing
my
it.
thoughts on the Buescher incident, just to give my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, he got loose. Yes, it was a racing incident. But I will say the result ends up the same. It is a whoops. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. But it ruins the 12th day. I would cut him more slack if he hadn't already driven through the 54 before the end of the last stage.
Oh,
so
yeah.
But what that tells me is, that car as a team is in desperation mode right now. And he knows that these road courses, he won, Watkins Glen last year. A couple of years ago, he almost won at Sonoma in a battle with Suarez. I think he knows that there's certain places where you can capitalize, and this needs to be one of them. And he's under a lot of pressure to get that car into the playoffs, and they haven't won yet. So I think that is what is forcing him. Like, he should have known Ryan made that move in 11 and got under him and was much faster. And when they got up the hill, he was going to clear him and he was going to get by. But the 17 is racing hard. So, I mean, I will say I can't fault him for any of that. If Ryan was in the same position, I'd want him to race hard too. So and he doesn't have a history of taking Ryan out. He's not Eric Jones. He's not Austin Dillon. He's not a repeat offender yet. So I'll cut him a little bit of slack. It was just, I said it right at the top of the show. Something's happened this year within the next gen car. Ryan has been a pretty decent road racer his whole career, especially in the previous generation of car. In the next gen car, the stats don't show it. This year, though, the racing shows it.
Yep.
And the finishes still don't. And then it was like, this was finally going to be the one of his best road courses historically, where he has some, great finishes. And it was just felt like it was just ripped away from us in one weird place. Like, nobody else was really getting punted or taken out in that area. of the track. It was always like at the top of the hill or everywhere else. So it was just a really odd place. And man, I wish somehow Ryan was able to not, but he didn't have a choice. And able to not end up steering up that hill or whatever and keep going and live to fight another day, because, losing that lap really killed the entire day, even though they do eventually get it back, but it was just way too late.
Yeah. So they do, of course, Ryan asks after the dust settles if he was in the wrong. Even he asks if he gave enough room. So that kind of tells you too. Once things calm down, like you always hear the soundbite right after everything happens, but once they calm down and they're so they do come. They get. Tim says there's 42 laps to go still, plenty of time here. Ryan says I don't have first gear. Not that it really matters here, which is kind of interesting because it does show up at like one of the pit stops that they make later on where they have to push the car a little bit, get it out of the pit stall. But so lap 80, they're see that's the thing is that once they they're going green and everything here. Lap 80, he's down a lap, but lap 94, the 51 ends up being the lucky dog, and that kind of changed everything but I'm watching. There's another feature on the NASCAR app when you're looking at the scoring monitor thing. If you push a button, there's a little map that opens up at the track, and you can look at the top 10 and where they are on the track, or you can look at the full field. So I pulled that up because he's a lap down. It's hard to tell where he is amongst everybody. He was only a turn or so behind the 51. So I thought, well, we'll hurry up within the next lap or two. He was like 2 seconds, 3 seconds a lap past from 51. Maybe within a lap or two, we'll pass him again, be the lucky dog again, right? But at lap 96, we get this caution for the wheel flying off. Now, it's funny because Bob on Twitter at first said that, yeah, Ryan should get the lucky dog. And I had thought from visually what I had seen that they had waited a little while to call the caution. And because of that, I thought, well, Ryan must have got by him, or they kind of like made sure Ryan got by him so he could get that lucky dog. But I guess not. I guess the 51 was still in position when they flew the yellow, and you can't get a lucky dog if you're the cause of the caution. So Ryan does not get that there. So they go ahead and they do pit here, get fuel, full tires. The restart lap 99. And then we get the 9. We get a caution for them. The cars involved, the 5, the 43, the 4, the 34, the 60, the 23, the 21. But we're pitting now. We're putting stickers on. We have to catch back up to the field because it's a quickie yellow once they do get it going, I guess, from the pit stop.
This is great and all, but man, it was just so late to finally catch the break.
Yeah. So as he's trying to get his lucky dog lap back, the in-car camera gets really scary because listen to Josh for I don't know how many years, right? Listen to Tim now for a couple years, right? And even if they have got a secondary spotter or third spotter, they always say, hey, the lucky dog is coming. He's going to be on your left, or generally on your left, no matter what track they're at. And he's coming. And watch out here, he's coming. He's 5 back, he's 10 back, Well, for some reason, the 88, or I'm sorry, not the 88, the 8 has 3 spotters listed on their roster this weekend. Not one of those guys told him the lucky dog's coming, because he's doing this clean up the tires thing, and all of a sudden they're outside of turn 4 going towards like 5 or 6 there, and he's doing that and almost puts Ryan into the wall. As a matter of fact, I think they did kind of bump each other and into the wall on the whole thing.
Yeah, I think they're lucky. I think he got him at least in the door, because this would have been our luck. Now it doesn't matter with what happens next, but he would have hit him in the wheel and bent the toe link or something as soon as he gets back on the lead lap. So, did you notice that this is the first time, I don't know how I've missed it in these other TNT broadcasts, that they've actually branded this the relief lap, because it's sponsored by like Debt Relief something or something. And I was confused because I heard it earlier in the race, like, oh, they're on the relief lap right now or something. And I was like, and I finally realized it when I was paying more attention for Ryan. So I thought that
way to work that in. Yeah. So restart at lap 103, tail on the longest line. We get this caution for the 47 car. So we're up to 32nd here. The 47 was in the tire pack, and I was like thinking, he kind of destroyed it a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe they'll red flag this, but they did repair it kind of quick, really. So
still needed these laps though. That was the problem.
Yeah, it could have been another lap or two that they could have had, right? So they restart lap 106 here, and he's, it's risk reward. You're in there with the squirrels now. What's bad about the first two incidents of the day is you were running in the top 5 when they happened, which should never happen to you. Now it's almost expected where you're at. Something's going to happen. I saw stupid comments about he lost, he should have done, he actually had made a hard right as quickly as he could here on this thing. The 5 car had bounced wherever he had bounced and was coming back down across the track and needed to lock it down. I don't know how many times, once again, listening to all the years of the different spotters I've heard, they will say the words, lock it down. And all that means is to break it, hit the brakes, stand in one position, and then that way everybody else can avoid you. But no, he kept rolling across the track. Ryan kept going as far as he could, as best he could, and sure enough, he hits Ryan. Knocks out a toe link. I mean, they can tell that pretty much right away here.
I'm getting tired. I've lost count at this point now where Ryan has been clipped at the last second of a wreck.
Yeah.
And it happens again, and it's on a road course of all places. Oh, man,
yeah.
It's so frustrating.
And it was the 42 that caused this. 42 actually, I guess, caused the 5 to spin. He knocked him out of whack. Just trying to, everybody's just in a melee at that point. A couple laps left to go, trying to get what they can get. So Ryan brings it into the pits, and he said something about the brakes, having no brakes or something at that point. And, he just pulled the car behind the wall, and that was it. There was only, whatever laps left. So 2 laps, 3 laps left or whatever. So, ends up finishing 36th. The 88 does win. My favorite thing at the end of the race is it's amazing. They got these matchups from the bracket challenge, right? And a lot of people are mad because all the good guys are, out of it and all that. But actually, these matchups, there were 4 matchups. They were all pretty close down the end of this race. And what the 10 car does to the 48 in turn 11 was just beautiful. And the fact the fact that 48 didn't get out and fight him or nothing. And then they were waiting for the sound bite, but I guess the sound bite was on PRN actually later on. He said what he did was he thanked the people
Hendrick
from
PR, right?
Yeah, thank you, Hendricks. Exactly, because they're the ones that put up the thing about the glass slipper and Cinderella, and he's still dancing. So kudos to him for getting it done on the last corner of the last lap. Otherwise, like I said, to me the whole race was pretty good except for when Ryan ends up getting caught in. What's amazing is if they run green to the end with Ryan being in the middle of any of that, we probably get a pretty good finish, maybe a 20th. He probably would have got his way through some of those people and around some of those people. And, with his stage points, all things considered, it would have been a great day.
Yeah. It's just, it was just so, it's weird that I wasn't as mad as I have been in some of these cases. Maybe if I really thought he could have went out and won the race, but I think we're just getting numb to these scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there was only a couple of laps left, 7th DNF on the season, leads all drivers in DNFs this year. Actually breaks the tie that he had with Bubba Wallace and Brad Keselowski and John Hunter Nemechek. Most DNFs in the series, so definitely the most DNFs of anybody in the top 10 in the point standings, yet still somehow is still in the top 10 in the point standings. And a lot of that has to do with their focus on trying to get as many stage points as possible. But it was just it's a tough day. I'll go over the points here. Like I said, 7th overall, but now 123 points back of the leader, which is where this team was about 3 races ago. They had made up all of these points, and going into the weekend was 93 points back of the leader. That's William Byron. Lost 30 points in this race. Super frustrating, because what that's done is Chase Briscoe, who is on a run here, definitely on a run in qualifying, but he's actually been able to put some finishes together here. We have Chase Briscoe coming up on us right now, who's in 8th, 142 points back. So he's within, 20-some points. And Ryan, the gap to 6th, Christopher Bell is 71 points back of the leader. So that's a pretty big chunk of points now. And we just a week or so ago, we're talking about the possibility of him maybe getting to 5th by the end of the regular season. But man, to lose all of that in one race where he got stage points and everything, but it's just other guys that he's racing around ended up with pretty decent days. And it just destroyed his situation in the points here, and it's really frustrating, maybe above anything else.
I put a little gift thing together, put on our Discord chat with the bug spray for repelling squirrels or bad NASCAR drivers, and I threw that at JH too. He thought it was funny too, But the first two, like I said, the first two incidents on the track, you were running in the top 5, so you didn't expect things like that to happen when you're racing with good guys in good situations, And at the end is that's being where you're being, just like you've always said during the year when you qualify poorly and you're back there with those guys, right? Things could happen and they're going to happen, because you're with them. So. The worst part about the scenario is this week coming up, once again, going to be in the first practice, qualify earlier than everybody else before the track gets, cleaned up a little bit. And it's just going to be a longer journey to the front, in that first stage. But if they keep showing up with the speed they've been showing up with, I'm not worried. I mean, we'll get there and we'll go there and we'll watch them pass a bunch of cars and we'll get to see the exciting things we always see them do. That's always the best part. Somebody put that in the Discord chat today too. It's like I'm excited every weekend. Why? Because I think he can win every weekend, and that's the most exciting thing. It's not only a championship driver, but they have speed and the driver and the team and the crew and everything it takes to win every weekend going out. And now it's just a matter of guiding it through another good weekend like they did a couple weeks ago.
And that's another thing that's changed, and I believe we've talked about this in the last couple weeks, and somebody mentioned it in the chat today that, Ryan doesn't have any bad tracks left this year, and I would argue he doesn't have any bad tracks at all anymore. There were certain ones for a while, like Richmond is a famous one, and road courses at some point, and some of these other ones, but within the last 3 or 4 years, they've brought speed everywhere they go. So like you said, he has an opportunity to potentially win at any of these races the rest of the season. 2 more road courses on the year with Watkins Glen in a few weeks, and the Roval in the playoffs. So one that for SVG and those folks that don't believe he belongs in the playoffs, really good chance that he ends up with at least 4 wins this year if he wins one of these next 2 road courses, and a chance that if he's still in it in the points can win the Roval and really shake things up in the playoffs. So
can I make everybody mad with my prediction? I mean, I think I said it a week or 2 ago. I said it in the Discord chat just to get it and it got a little bit of a discussion going. That's great because there's discussions out there. He's got, how many playoff points right
17.
Now? I think 17? Yeah. 17 playoff points right now. And there's no that says he can't win Watkins Glen. He almost won it last year, right? 20-some points going into the playoffs gets you through the first round. I know a lot of people say, the first you said this track and that track. No, Ryan had 15 points in a round before and crashed out at Bristol and still made the next round. Okay, those bonus points will help you get to the next round. And he doesn't have to beat all 15 other guys. He just got to beat 4 of them, right? And that 4 of them are going to have 2 bad races probably, and they'll be out. So he gets to that next round. All of a sudden, he's around 12. The Roval's the last race in the round of 12. He goes out and he dominates that race, does what he does with it, wins it, gets to the round of 8. Now the next thing you know, they're at Talladega with 10 to go, and he's out in front of the field. And you want to see some people pulling their hair out because he ain't afraid at Talladega watched his in-car camera this year at Talladega, and he put the nose of that thing right up in there and drove it right up near the front a couple different times. And that's amazing to me from a guy who's used to driving, I don't want to say slower speeds, but, doing left and right and up a hill and down a hill, to be at Talladega in the middle of that pack and to push a line and not be afraid to push a line, it takes a lot of nerve, and he's got it. So it's really, really scary how there's scenarios that are, parts of them are actually plausible. I might, the thing at Talladega, I'm making a thing and it might be funny, but to get that far, it's possible. It really, really is. He has the skill and ability to win the ones he needs to win. And then he's getting better at the other ones to the point where all he's got to do maybe is a top 20 here and maybe some stage points there. And the next thing you know, he's into another round, Scary good.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd love to see it happen as long as it's not at Ryan's expense. As long as Ryan's not the ninth driver that gets knocked out along the way. But I just love the chaos that it creates, and the people that get all upset, or people that when he won the first race said it was going to be a waste of a playoff spot. I'd love to see all of that be proven wrong, because he seems like a great guy, works really hard, he's really working hard to get better on ovals. But again,
he's got
would love
championship
to see Ryan go out and win both.
Yeah, he's got a championship spotter, a guy that could help guide him through some moments that, that's really good to have too, somebody who's got that kind of experience.
So that mostly wraps up our talk on Sonoma. We do have one more thing to clean up, and that involves the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. We'll take a look at our starting lineups. I'm interested to know what yours was, because you had a fantastic weekend in fantasy, tying for the victory on the weekend. So my starting lineup, which wasn't too bad, Daniel Suarez got me 23 points. Probably could have got us some more or got me some more if his teammate would have, not driven through him in 11 at one point. So 23 points from Suarez, 19 points from Allmendinger. I did keep Shane in the lineup this week. No weird conspiracy issues where he fell into my garage. 59 points. Ty Gibbs, 32 points. Michael McDowell, 33 points. And I had Kyle Larson, last year's winner, who obviously had another dismal day, 11 points, but I left him in the garage. Featured matchups, I picked Gibbs over Smith. That was right. I picked Reddick over Priest. That was right. I picked Bowman over Ty Dillon, and that was right all the way up until turn 11. And then I picked John Hunter Nemechek over Eric Jones, and that was right. So all four of those featured matchups were also all four of the bracket challenge matchups. And it's interesting to point out here, so Tyler Reddick moves on. He won the Denny Hamlin Dirty Mo Media version of the bracket challenge last year. So once again, Tyler Reddick is in it to win it. So there'll be some interesting matchups going forward for Dover, and then the championship round of that is at Indianapolis. So with all those points, I had 196 on the weekend, and middle of the road, 47th overall in the league.
So I had Shane, of course, right? I had Christopher Bell, good for 32 points. William Byron, good for 29. Gibbs was good for 32. And then Briscoe, good for 44. And I had Tyler Reddick in the garage. So I could have had, if I swapped them out, another point or two, really, with Tyler. No, actually, no. Everybody else had more than him by a point. So, yeah. So that was just a garage move that was just kind of like, well, who was getting stage points is all I was really looking at that point. And he didn't have any at that point, so I left him out. I had Gibbs over Zane. That was good. I had Reddick over Priest. That was good. I had Bowman over Dillon. So there's 10 more points I could have had. And then I had Nemechek over Jones. And what you didn't mention there is Nemechek beat Jones by one position also. So yeah, that was my day. And, it looked pretty good watching it as the day went, because it's kind of hard to watch your fantasy lineup as they're doing the whole flipping the stage thing, because then you're not getting the full view, and then you have to wait till the stages flip. You have to wait till the stage ends. You have to wait till everybody pits at the end of the stage, and then everything kind of resets. At that point, then you go, okay, that's where my lineup is. So really tricky going into stage 2 before you make any moves, unless somebody just got totally knocked out.
So
Yeah, it worked out pretty good.
Let's take a look at the top 10 in points earned this week in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League for Sonoma Raceway. Start off with a tie for 10th between Blaney Kicks Beep and our friend Joe Bro 1221, 220 points. Tie for 8th with the Daisy Dukes and Cheesehead Fan, 221 points. 7th was Blaneyhack 10, 222. 6th was the Buckeye Bullet, 223 points. 5th is the Nutty Gamer, 225. 4th is my cousin Vinny, 226 points. This is all really tight, all the way up to the top. 3rd, Al 12 Fan, 229. Then we had a two-way tie between Markle 12 Fan and your team, Mez 12, 233 points on the weekend. Congratulations on your joint victory. Great job. Take a look at
sooner or later, I got to win one sooner or later, right?
You're showing me up because I had a second, I think was my best this year, once or twice, and then still haven't had a victory yet this year. I think I might have won once last year, but extremely rare. And it's very rare because if you look at my overall standings right now, a gentleman 72nd overall in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League with 3,268 points. Let's take a look at the top 10 where there is a tie for 10th between Moose Hunter 1960 and Dr. Race Chaser with 3,719 points. 9th is the Daisy Dukes, 3,725. And 8th is Penske Fan 24, 3,745. Hashtag LGM holds down the 7th spot, 3,763 points. Your team, Mez 12, continues to creep up the standings to 6th, 3,771 points on the year. Past champion Clyde's Chicken Pit Racing in 5th, 3,797. Alyssa C is in 4th, 3,827. Pit Stop Pro in 3rd, 3,836. Our other friend Jordan Daniels in 2nd, 3,868. And Vans 12 continues to lead the way for another weekend in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League, 3,898 points. And that brings us to, and back to, which many are excited about, oval racing in the NASCAR Cup Series as they head to Dover Motor Speedway, the Monster Mile, a place that's been fairly decent for Ryan Blaney in the past, and we'll get to that when we talk about his statistics. But if you want to tune in this weekend, things for the NASCAR Cup Series kick off on Saturday, July 19th, 1:35 p.m. Eastern Time. You have practice. You can watch that on True TV and streaming on Max. Listen to that on PRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, you have qualifying from Dover for the Cup Series. You can watch and listen to that in those same places. And then 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, you have the NASCAR Xfinity Series Bet Rivers 200 from Dover. You can watch that on the CW, listen to it on PRN and Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. That brings us to Sunday, July 20th. You have the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400 from Dover Motor Speedway, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That is on cable on TNT Sports, streaming with HBO Max, and then on PRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Ryan Blaney stats at Dover, 14 starts in his career. He's led 92 laps, an average start of 10.8, average finish, though, of 17.4. Has a lot of really bad finishes at Dover and then a lot of decent finishes. One DNF that came back in 2019. Top 10s, he has 4, and then 1 top 5. Last couple races there, though. We'll go on the races in the next gen car. Started 5th in 2022, finished 26th. Ended up a few laps down there, so he had an incident there. Did lead 8 laps in that race. 2023, though, this was like the 3-3-3 race. He finished 3rd, or started 3rd, finished 3rd in both stages, and then finished 3rd in the race. 2023, the 2024 started 2nd, finished 7th. So last few trips there, he led 47 laps in this race last year. One on the concrete at Nashville. Definitely not the same or similar type of track, but still. High speed track. I'm optimistic, but there are some reasons to be a little bit hesitant, and you tease that a little bit earlier on, and that involves the situation for practice and qualifying this weekend.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the layout of it yet, or where exactly he goes out, but what's been said before, and I think Harvick was the one that pointed this out early in the year on one of their broadcasts, is that if you go out earlier in qualifying, you're usually cleaning the track up for guys later on in qualifying. And if he goes out too early, he's going to have a good. Don't get me wrong, he'll have speed, but it might be a tenth or 2/10 slower than what it will be if he was running later on. And that's the only part that sucks. It's great because we know he'll drive through the field. He'll make the moves. He'll make the passes. He'll get past the slower cars that qualified better, but really aren't better cars. And he'll get his way up there. But it really would be nice if he was in that first or in the second group, because we know in the second group he's going to start in the top 10 probably, maybe even the top 5. When you watch practice Saturday, really watch practice in that first group and see where his average lap time is with everybody in the first group and so forth. Because if it's the top 2 or 3 guys within the first group, he's going to be pretty good versus that second group, even though this track's not going to have as much speed in it at that point. So that's what to look out for as far as like how he'll race on Sunday.
Ryan has visited Victory Lane at Dover in the past, but it was in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, so he does have a Miles the Monster trophy somewhere stashed away at home, hoping that he can bring home a Cup Series version of that this weekend. Let's take a look at the top 10 in this race here last year. There was a time when Dover had 2 races per year, but in the last several years it's gone down to just 1. But the race in 2024, Denny Hamlin went to Victory Lane, Kyle Larson was second, Truex third, Kyle Busch fourth, Chase Elliott fifth, Noah Gragson was 6th, Blaney in 7th, Bowman 8th, Daniel Hemrick 9th, Ty Gibbs 10th. So 2 of those folks in the top 10 are no longer with the series. Is there anyone, fantasy racing guru Steve Mez, that you're looking at this weekend ahead of practice and qualifying? And while you also might even have a little bit of a limited lineup availability getting this late in the regular season as well, that you would suggest to a lowly 72nd place overall person to potentially look at for my lineup this weekend?
That's the thing is like I'm totally out of Ryan, right? And I think William Byron now too, but start off with the top of the standings and look at who you haven't used that much that's in the top of the standings to begin with. You're going to see the guys that are up 4th or 5th in the standings, and those are the guys you want to look at. There's somebody like lately the 54 has been running better. The 19 has won a race, and now he's got a little more confidence. See how practice and qualifying goes, in that second group, and see who kind of stands out. That's always what I look for like as a garage guy, who would be that 6th guy, somebody who qualified pretty well, who's maybe not, somebody I would use normally, but now I've got him in the garage, and if he has a good race, that's like Allmendinger last week. I totally fell out. I watched him spin it out in practice, and I thought, I don't care where he qualifies. He's going to go too hard, to try and do. Well, now we're on a mile track where, Bubba Wallace would not be a bad one, but then on the other hand, he's going to press too hard. You know what I mean? You got to be careful. The guys that are working really hard toward, the 48 is another one. Like his teammates might show really well in practice, and he might show pretty good and get himself a good qualifying spot. But during the race, press too hard because he's at a point where now the cut lines wins who doesn't have, below that cut line, and it pushes the cut line up. So things like that, kind of keep an eye on. So. 2 or 3 of the guys, from Gibbs. I want to say Joey half the time if I've got usage on Joey, but I want to see how he practices, how he qualifies, because he's one of those guys that works his way up through as the race goes sometimes. I'm trying to think of who else that, any of the Hendrick usually is a good bet. Although Larson's confusing me right now. I don't know what's going on with him. Doesn't, like somebody said that, he doesn't look right. Like something just, the speed of the car's there. He has moments where he races really well, and then just something doesn't look right with him. So I don't know what's going on there. But those are just some of my ideas and thoughts. And like I said, I always like to watch practice qualifying just to see if something surprises me. Maybe somebody comes to the track this week and has, as a group, has some speed that you didn't see coming.
Do you have a SVG prediction for the weekend, heading back to an oval that is as challenging for a rookie as Dover is?
I think for him now, I think the thing is to finish on the lead lap in the next lap or next race or two, just to, and maybe get yourself into the top 10. I think with some time and confidence here, I think he's going to do that. But they're working, like I said, I think they're already starting to think about the playoff tracks. Literally. I mean, they're in it now and they're gaining points toward it, but you're not going to see them now on ovals. You're not going to see them really with a good chance to win a stage or anything like that. Unless something really weird happens where a bunch of guys pit before the end of the stage and then he stays out. So I think all they're really looking at now is him improving himself so that when they get to Gateway and places, Bristol, can they run really well there? So I think that's all they're worried about now. Yeah,
just had to ask because there's a certain part of the fan base that is just waiting to dunk on him if he has a misstep this weekend and says, yeah, we're back to our roots now and you can't hang with those guys. So like you said, I think a good goal is staying on the lead lap for as long as he possibly can, and a top 20 finish would be just fine for that. So again, if you want to tune in this weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series, 1:35 p.m. Eastern Time, we have practice on True TV. 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, we have qualifying from Dover on True TV. The Xfinity race is at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. And then Sunday, again, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400 from Dover Motor Speedway, TNT Sports, HBO Max, PRN, and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Well, Steve, I think that pretty much wraps up this week's episode of the Team Blaney podcast. I want to thank you, everyone, once again for tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok with our live streams, our live recordings of the show. That's an option. Or if you're downloading this and listening to us on your commute, we thank you all for tuning in. During the weekend on race day, you can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search for Team Blaney. We'd also like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Ryan's official charitable organization benefits brain health causes like UPMC Sports Medicine and the Alzheimer's Association. To learn more, visit RyanBlaneyFamilyFoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, X, or Instagram. For my co-host Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We'll catch you next time right here on the Team Blaney podcast.
Good night, New Wilmington.